One of the saddest myths surrounding the First World War is the belief that monarchs created a conflict, then left their subjects to face the bullets. In reality, the kings did their utmost to maintain peace, and as officers led from the front, their sons were often in the greatest danger. In the first 4 months of the conflict, no fewer than 10 princes were killed in action, and in the space of 4 weeks, one princess lost an uncle, a son, and a husband. The Kaiser's youngest sister, Margaret, had always enjoyed her holidays in England, and had once been touted as a potential bride for the heir to the British and the Russian thrones. But in 1893 she married Frederick Karl, the Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, who, in 1914, with 3 of their sons, was fighting on the Western Front. The brothers had little doubt about the horrors that awaited them, as Frederick Karl had warned them that battlefields bore little resemblance to glamorized images of heroic feats, when shells tear men and horses to pieces, and it's horrible. Nonetheless, almost as soon as war broke out, stories of Frederick Karl's courage abounded, and wounded soldiers returning to Frankfurt reported that, while leading his regiment, he had seized a flag from the hands of the wounded flag-bearer and carried it on to victory. In July 1914, his 19-year-old son Maximilian, known as Max, had been studying in England, but he returned to his regiment, the Hessian Dragoons, in time for the invasion of Belgium. On the 12th of October, he was wounded in the stomach during a British machine-gun attack, and was carried to a Trappist monastery in nearby Mont-de-Cat. Taken prisoner by the British, he was treated by 2 English doctors, Johnson and O'Brien Butler, who remained at his side for 17 agonizing hours as he lay dying. Shortly before his death, Max gave O'Brien Butler a locket and a private message for his mother, and when the doctor returned to work, he gave the locket to his wife for safekeeping, but he told her he could not share the message with anyone except its intended recipient. Tragically, later that day, O'Brien Butler was also killed in a shell attack, and the message would never be delivered. Max's mother, Margaret, was told that her son had been wounded, but she had no idea of his whereabouts or whether or not he had survived. For 3 months she waited in vain for news, while the Kaiser tried to gain information from American aid workers who had been active in the region. Eventually, the King of neutral Spain received word from a group of English nurses that Max had died, but they did not know where he was buried. The King passed the news on to Max's mother, and 6 months later, O'Brien Butler's widow sent the locket to Britain's Queen Mary, who returned it to Margaret with a message of condolence via the Crown Princess of neutral Sweden. It soon transpired that, when the abbot of the Trappist monastery learned that Max was the Kaiser's nephew, he buried him in secret and averred that he would not divulge the location of the grave until every German soldier had left Belgium. The location of his grave was not discovered until 1926, when Max's body was disinterred and returned to the family vault in Hesse-Kassel. 2 years after Max's death, his 22-year-old brother, Prince Frederick William, Freddie, was killed in action. Already he had been seriously wounded twice, but had returned to active service. On the 15th of September 1916, he was killed by a Romanian bayonet at Cara Oma in Constanța. There is plenty more information about the princes in the trenches and the royal families during the First World War in my book, Princes in the Trenches. Thank you for listening.